Bear down. The left side of the Chicago Bears offensive line just changed, and not in a small way. We're talking about a tackle who spent 10 years dominating one of the most competitive divisions in the entire NFL, a Pro Bowl selection, 140 starts, and right now, today, he is a free agent. No team, waiting for a phone call, and the connection he has to Hollis Hall is so direct, so obvious, so urgent that the question is no longer whether Ryan Poles is going to make that call. The question is why he has not made it yet. But that is not the only thing moving in navy and orange right now. Because while the Bears figure out who protects Caleb Williams' blindside, Ryan Poles did something in the draft that he almost never does. He traded up. He gave away capital for a defensive tackle out of Georgia Tech that, according to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, the Bears believe they flat out stole out. His name is Jordan Vandenberg, and his arrival puts Gervin Dexter Sr. on notice in a way that nobody is talking about yet. And just when you think the story ends on the field, there is something exploding in Springfield this week that could reshape the future of this franchise for the next several decades. The clock is running. The legislative session closes at the end of May, and Hammond, Indiana, has never been this close to pulling the Chicago Bears out of the Windy City. All of that right now. If you are part of the real Bear Nation and you trust the Ryan Poles process, hit that like right now and subscribe, because this thing is not slowing down. Bear down. Listen, we have been talking about the Bears' left tackle situation for 2 months straight, and every single week the same name keeps coming up. Taylor Decker. And the reason this conversation won't die is because it makes complete sense. Let's break it down. On March 6th, Decker requested his release from the Lions. Detroit honored it. 3 days later, 10 years, 140 starts at left tackle, a Pro Bowl in 2024, and now the man is sitting in free agency with no team. And it just so happens that his former offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, has been running the show in Chicago for over a year. How is this not done already? Pro Football Focus just named Chicago the ideal landing spot for Decker. Bradley Locker wrote it out clearly, and here's why it matters so much right now. Ozzie Trapilo, the Bears' starting left tackle, is basically done for the 2026 season with a ruptured patella tendon. That is a massive loss. And what you have competing for that job right now is Braxton Jones, Theo Benedette, and Jedrick Wills Jr. Those are names, but fam, those are not a definitive answer when it comes to protecting Caleb Williams. Now, is Decker the same player he was 3 years ago? No. His PFF grade last year was 67.9, his lowest since 2017. That's real. Can't ignore it. But listen to this. He allowed only 3 hits and 2 sacks on 525 pass blocking opportunities. And his pass blocking efficiency score has never dropped below 96.0 in his entire career. Never. That is the kind of consistency the Bears need right now behind an offensive line that is still very much under construction. And here's what people are completely missing. This isn't just about talent on the field. This is about culture. Ben Johnson worked with Decker in Detroit for 3 years. Decker already knows this system. He knows the concepts. He knows the language. He knows what Ben demands from his blockers. That's worth its weight in gold when you're trying to compress a learning curve at the most important position on the entire offensive formation. The left tackle protects Caleb Williams' blindside. We're not talking about a depth piece here. Look, maybe Decker isn't the version of himself from 2019 or 2020, but if he comes to Hollis Hall hungry with something to prove after Detroit let him walk, running a system he already knows inside out, on a reasonable 1-year deal, fam, that is exactly what this offensive line needs to stay intact under pressure. The Bears already have enough weapons around Caleb for this offense to be dangerous. They just need to make sure nobody's touching their franchise quarterback's chest. The real question is, what is Ryan Poles waiting for? Because this has been going around in circles for 2 months, and every week that passes is one less week of installation reps for the tackle protecting your franchise signal caller. Decker knows the system. Decker trusts Ben Johnson. Decker has real motivation to show Detroit they made a mistake. What more do you need to see, bro? Round 6, pick 213. The Bears traded up to go get Jordan Vandenberg, defensive tackle out of Georgia Tech. And yeah, you heard that right. The Bears traded up in the 6th round for a defensive tackle. Why does that matter? Because Ryan Poles has been running this draft room for 5 years, and this is only the 3rd time he has ever moved up to grab someone. You do not spend draft capital if you don't have a real reason. That alone tells you everything about how they value Vandenberg internally. Jeremy Fowler at ESPN confirmed it. The Bears believe they stole Vandenberg. They said they have plans for him beyond what you typically expect from a sixth-round flyer. His testing numbers hit the highest marks on the Bears' internal scouting scale. 6'3", 300 pounds, 3 sacks last season at Georgia Tech. 42 tackles, nearly double what he had in his first 4 college years combined. And his coach at Georgia Tech said something that I just cannot get out of my head. He is the most polite person in the world, but on the field, he will absolutely snatch your soul out of you. Bro, with that level of internal hype, somebody has got to be uncomfortable, and that somebody is Gervon Dexter Sr. Look, Dexter has a history in this conversation. They took him at pick 53 in the 2023 draft, second round. A defensive tackle selected that high is generally expected to be a game wrecker by year 3 or 4. And Dexter did have his best season in 2025, 6.5 sacks, 38 total pressures. That is real growth. Nobody has taken that away from him, but his PFF grade was 57.7 for a second-round tackle in year 3. That is not enough. It's not a disaster, but it's not what you were expecting when you made that investment either. And the most important thing here, Dexter was not a Ryan Poles or Ben Johnson pick. He came from the previous regime. In the culture this team is building right now, that matters. And here's the dynamic that I find absolutely fascinating. Vandenberg arrives at Halas Hall with 0 guarantees, no public expectations from anyone except from the organization that literally moved up to go get him. This guy's going to grind like his entire career depends on every single rep, because it does. And if he starts flashing in training camp, the Bears have to do what every good team does. Put the best man on the field. Dexter's future is entirely in his own hands. If he goes out and has the best season of his career in 2026, none of the Vandenberg conversation matters one bit. But if the rookie shows up and starts taking starter reps, that extension Dexter needs starts moving further away. That is the healthy competition that builds winning football teams, man, and the Bears are applying it exactly right. All right, we need to talk about the stadium because something came out this week that is complicating the Arlington Heights dream in a real way. The Bears met with the NFL Stadium Council this week to give a progress update. The council wants the organization to decide expeditiously between Arlington Heights and Hammond, Indiana, and they already have another meeting scheduled within the next 2 weeks to keep the pressure on. Here's the problem. The Illinois House already passed the mega projects legislation back in April. The Bears wanted amendments included that would provide property tax relief, but the version the Senate has right now contains a tax relief mechanism that the Bears are rejecting. State Senator Bill Cunningham said it directly to Crane's Chicago business. They did not run the bill this week precisely because reaching a compromise is not simple. Justin Lawrence at Crane's summed it up perfectly. The current situation has thrown a wrench into negotiations. The Senate wants to keep some form of tax relief in the bill, but the mechanism on the table right now is not what the Bears will accept. And time is running out on the Windy City side. The spring legislative session ends at the end of May. That means if there is no deal in the next few weeks, Arlington Heights gets a lot more complicated, and Hammond, Indiana gets a lot more real. Look, I could be wrong, but I think Illinois blinks first. The idea of losing the Bears to Indiana is too politically costly for Springfield to absorb, but if senators spend all of May without moving, this gets ugly fast, and any Bears fan dreaming about that lakefront stadium needs to be watching Springfield very closely this week. That is a wrap for today, fam. The Bears are moving pieces chasing the left tackle protection Caleb needs, with Decker's name refusing to go away, creating real competition on the interior defensive line with the steal of the 6th round, and fighting it out in Springfield to keep the new stadium in Illinois. It is May 1st, 2026, and Da Bears are building something special. Bear down. If you are a Bears fan, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe if you have not yet, and tell me down in the comments, do you sign Taylor Decker? Because I have been screaming yes for 2 months straight. See you in the next one.